Welcome everyone to the second event in our andPlay Conversation series of fall 2021. And we're so excited to be here today with String Noise. As a reminder, andPlay Conversation is made impossible in part with public funds from creative engagement supported by the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council and the New York State Council on the Arts, administered by LMCC. And once again, we're really excited to be here on the internet with you, and hopefully you guys can chat with us in the chat function as you're listening if you have any thoughts or comments or questions. And normally we are in person at Word Up Community Bookshop in Washington Heights, and so we just wanted to give them a little bit of a plug, and we will share their info later if you would like to order a book or two from them, because they're a very cool shop. So String Noise is here for us in our second event about duos, where we have two duos talking with each other because we just think duos are the coolest. So Pauline and Conrad, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us. It's so good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we were wondering first if you could just tell us a little bit about String Noise, a violin duo, so kind of our counterpoint. Sometimes people ask us if we ever do violin as well, and I'm always like, no way would I touch a violin. But you guys came to it very honestly as two violinists. So could you tell us a little bit about String Noise and the ensemble?
Oh, hey, Anna, when you put it that way, Conrad, take it away. What is it?
Oh, well, we started in about 10 years ago, and we started in Ostrava in the Czech Republic was our first concert as String Noise. And we just got a new piece from this composer, Eric Lyon, and we decided to keep going with it. And we've had a bunch of people write us music, and we've done some recordings, especially lately. We've been putting out stuff, especially during the pandemic. We've been putting stuff together, and we've got some other stuff happening coming up, mostly recordings, but some live stuff that Pauline can talk about. And yeah, it's been, I can't believe it's been 10 years already since we embarked on this journey.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's such a whirlwind. It's funny that you started also away from home. I'm assuming that you were both living in New York at the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that piece, what came next? Like, were you like, we've got a commission? Well, because there are some violin duo.
Yeah, there are some, yeah, for sure. But then, after getting back to New York, we decided to put other stuff together. And so we just searched out different composers and saw who was going to be game for us to play their music. What? Is that not what happened?
Different stories. So. Okay, Pauline, what's your side?
Wait, I could have plugged my computer in.
Oh, it's getting serious now.
And I will say that my aversion to violin duo has nothing to do with the ensemble. It's just that people always assume that as a violist, I also play violin and would just like happily switch back and forth. And we're like, no, this is actually just what we do is violin, viola.
It's funny. I mean, we get sort of a similar thing too. And we're just like, nope. I mean, just recently, I think a composer wanted us to, put out this we're putting out an all violin album for this one composer, and he wanted us to, like, one of us to play viola, and we were like, well, not exactly no, but maybe there's some other things that we might want to do, and it has nothing to do. I love the viola, and I love playing it, but yeah, I mean, I think Todd Reynolds' piece that one show originally, but then he made it for two violins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
like your snap you know, like you two are a violin duo, and then like, and I feel the same way about andPlay. Like it's our sound to be on like violin and viola, but if we were both playing viola or both playing violin, it kind of messes with that, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's
Yeah,
a
it would
total
be
identity thing.
it would be it would be a totally different sound, even though it's the same players. It would totally change it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
For
Well,
sure.
now we know we can just
Visually too.
shift it over to the other group when we're asked. We're like,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
a great violin duo, so
Yeah, farm it out to string noise, and we'll do the same.
yeah. Wait, so Pauline, what's your story?
Yeah, is this a different duo?
It's so funny because like the way Conrad puts it, it's just so nice. Like I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like going along with it, and then I'm like, wait a minute. No,
It
that's
wasn't
not how it
nice?
goes. No, it was nice, but it wasn't
Oh,
our
it was?
idea. It's not
Huh?
like we were like, oh, let's play in a violin duo together. I feel like we like resisted that temptation for a really, really long time, or just even that suggestion. Like we didn't even, right,
Yeah,
Conrad?
maybe.
I mean, because
Yeah,
like,
sure.
And then what happened? You played this piece, and then you were just like, this is it.
no, and then we got back to New York, and then all of a sudden there was this concert that had like how much, like 15 pieces for two violins. It's like, all
But
right,
that didn't just
we're doing
happen.
that. It's not like we knew any of these people. We knew some, but not most of those composers. It's all Eric Lyon and Elizabeth Hoffman's fault.
Oh, yeah, it's their fault.
They kind of like gave you the
That's
little,
how I remember it.
they gave you
Okay.
Yeah, and then our friend was doing like this. He was a featured artist for Performa,
Mm-hmm.
2011, I think it was. So Will Cotton, and so he asked us to be a part of it, and that's when we had a piece that Caleb Burhands wrote for us. So that was one of the first pieces that was written for us. But yeah, I guess what I'm just trying to say that it was really like, I'm sure it's for you too, at the start, a lot of your friends writing for you and organizing concerts for you. And before you know it, you're just in this thing.
Was your resistance to it because of the instrumentation, or doing a project just the two of you that was so intense?
I never really dated violinists either. I mean, it's just felt so intimate and like such a thing. It's like another violinist playing with this. It's like we never. I mean, before we were even really an item, we did play a concert together.
We did?
Remember? Because remember we played because my pianist failed on a thing, and instead of canceling, I pitched the two violin concept, and they went with it. So like,
they fell for it.
Australia, here we come. So there was that, but it was just, I mean, we played like Prokofiev and Vinyavsky and Mozart and Bartok, and there wasn't a whole lot of two violin rep, right? I mean,
yeah, that's funny because a similar thing happened to Hannah and me when we first started. We played some of the rep that already existed. There's like a Martin New duo and there's some Mozart duos, and we were like there were some like more pieces as well. But those were part of our repertoire that like now no longer, because like just like you two, like you have now 10 years of works that there's so much to like pull from. You don't necessarily need to take other music that maybe isn't what you want to be playing, or isn't really what the duo wants to be playing.
But I think what we were sort of getting to the concept of a sound of an ensemble or a duo in particular, like two becoming one is such a sort of like symbolic thing where the sound, right? So I think a sort of an important aspect of the string noise story is that the same person that wrote us our first piece, Eric Lyon, started making punk arrangements for us, and that somehow it became so much a part of our sound, and how string noise became string noise. And with people writing for us with that sort of, not maybe the inspiration, but it's just being part of the fabric of that sound.
So getting into the kind of transcriptions of like punk music especially, so that was kind of introduced by Eric, or was that music that you had both been interested in before, or?
I guess both. I mean, Eric and I go pretty far back, so and we shared a lot of the same interest in non-classical music. And we just were talking, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to arrange this song for you guys," and then he just kept arranging more and more songs. But it was interesting to do that, because to start playing these covers, because then we kind of approached them a little bit like new music, these arrangements, because we didn't want to sound like we were trying to sound like the band,
cover band, yeah.
Because that's, I don't know, just if you're going to play the violin and try to sound like an electric guitar, it's kind of yeah. So anyway, we
cool.
kind of we would kid, but we kind of made it a little maybe nerdier and just focused in on different sounds that we could make, and we would change a lot of things in the arrangements or how we played it, and so we kind of approach it differently a little bit, and that kind of reflects sometimes the way we approach, or maybe always the way we approach new classical, well, whatever you want to call it, new music that people write us. That definitely has influenced the way we approach those pieces as well.
Like
we do, yeah.
I mean, we don't change it, but
yeah, we don't change it.
We push it
much
until it's like, whoa, what's going on? No.
And then, but it's more of an energy thing and sound a little bit, and Greg was a influence with us too. He really likes close mic and hearing the little gritty stuff, and he likes things sometimes when they're not quite together, like that's interesting to him, like and so we become a little more, at least I have, a little more open the way we play things, and just really listening to sound and textures and stuff, and having that being really as important as the notes, I guess.
And I mean, you must know so well what it's like to have to play like only two people having to play exactly the same. Yeah, something. Like like trying to really play together, like every little like thing, right?
Yeah, his piece that he wrote for us, Greg, it's unison, and he you try. He's like, basically try to play together, but it's cool if you don't play quite together.
That's a great approach. That's what everyone have all the time.
Yeah, right.
Try, and if not, it's fine.
But he's like, it's like, oh, that sounded great. At first when we were working with him, I'm like, but it wasn't quite together. He's like, oh, it's perfect, better that way,
Yeah,
but I think
go ahead.
Oh no,
it is more interesting.
There's something that's so cool, and I think that really plays into what is so unique about like string noise as like the actual sound of your ensemble, is that it's like bringing this kind of much more flexible approach to the music you're playing and to the like sounds you're creating, because you're not playing Wieniawski duos anymore, and so I think this influence that you're saying of like these punk transcriptions kind of opened you guys up in a different way as a duo, whatever you are performing.
But even so, like all these like virtuosic, like Wieniawski and all, classical rap, not every single note is always together, right? There's a thing that you're listening for, right? And that creates the phrase, that creates the illusion of being together, right? Because it's not like playing every single thing right on the beat with the same stroke, and like that's not really how we play. Even when we're playing like contemporary music that is like super, super, like there's still like broader picture,
But I
right?
wonder
Even
if if
yeah,
that's part of like this band mentality.
yeah,
It kind
right,
of like gets you to switch out of that. Because I think like that is always the goal with classical music, but we can get so stuck in it because of like
yeah,
our training and our education
Hmm.
and being like, but this note wasn't in tune and this rhythm was
yeah,
slightly wrong. And like
Hmm.
being able, you think about, yeah, like a punk band being on the stage and they're trying to like create like they're creating like a vibe, they're creating like an
Right.
awesome.
energy that is up there, and like
Yeah,
having that be the main focus, I think is a very cool thing to kind of have at the center of what you're doing, to kind of remind
Hmm.
yourself that that's the goal.
right. It's real, yeah, core of the sound,
Hmm.
core of the music. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And the recording was the techniques that Greg used also were pretty experimental too. Like, well, mentioned the close mics, but the close quarters, the recording in a closet. We recorded. I think the whole album was recorded in closets
So this is
where we
the
were really
a lunch before, no, what's it called again?
between
Between
lunch between order and
order and
chaos.
chaos.
Yeah, he wanted it in a closet.
Try it
I
at
think
home. Definitely try it.
it's mostly, well, I mean, sonically, so it was very dry, but also it was just increased kind of the struggle and maybe focusing away from being exact and just letting yourself go a little bit.
Yeah. I would love to have a closet that fit two violinists.
It barely, yeah, I know. It kind of did. I
Yeah,
think he
forget about
came
a
in.
viola and violin. Just
He came in for some percussion on one of the pieces too, right?
Mhm.
Into the closet with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
it was fun.
So
And he does join you for the piece though that you're sharing, the
Mm-hmm.
Auf, oh,
Auf
sorry.
dem Kirchhofe.
Kirchhoff.
Yeah, that
Auf dem
one
Kirchhoff.
that was actually done in a studio.
Okay.
can you guys introduce that piece a little bit that we'll be sharing? Because you were saying you kept talking about Greg, and this is Greg Saunier, who is
Mm-hmm.
a member of Deerhoof, right? An incredible band. And he's become a really close collaborator of yours. And so if you wanted to kind of tell everybody about this work and what they're going to be seeing.
Yeah, Auf dem Kirchhofe is one of Brahms' songs, and it was arranged by Eric Lyon for two violins and drum set. And we recorded that at Octavan Studios in a year and a half ago.
September
No, 2 years ago.
2019.
Okay.
No, September 2020. No, 2019. 2020 nothing
Yeah,
happened.
it gets confusing, as you know.
Yeah.
But
Wow, I can't believe that just happened.
Now, there's a year that's kind of erased from our memory.
yeah,
Time.
we recorded it pre-pandemic
Yeah.
by a handful of months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was with the so the Brahms songs are interwoven between the 6 movements of the Giga Concerto, which was originally written for a string orchestra, then orchestrated to fit the members of the International Contemporary Ensemble. So each person had their own part, sort of like a concerto grosso type vibe. And so there are 6 of those movements, and in between are the 5 Opus 106 Brahms songs. And Greg joined us for those Brahms songs. And it was sort of one of Eric's wild ideas to have drums accompanying 2 violins, and it was so much fun. We did it, yeah, on the Brahms. And so we did it live, and then he decided that to keep it that way. And so it became part of the Giga Concerto, because originally it was double concerto and Brahms Opus 106, but now it's just Giga Concerto.
I think it's so interesting though that you guys have really formed like this identity evolving around this sound idea and working with different collaborators and bringing that in to really be like we aren't just everybody's violin duo, like we are like there's just like a specific thing that you think of. And I think that when you think of string noise, and I think we hope that we have the same thing when people think of andPlay, and that there's something that's very different about a duo, that you're not necessarily just like playing the rep that exists, that like
Right.
because there are two people, you are really forming like such a unique identity, almost as like one individual or one entity. And so
Right on. Huh?
yeah. And
Right.
so it's really interesting to always hear about other duos and how they kind of approach
Yeah,
that and
it
what
really
they've
is.
incorporated as their kind of foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's such a special relationship, like not only like playing, but also personally. It's like, I mean, you have to really want to be playing with that one person. You know, it's not just like, oh, it could just be anyone. It like has to be a specific person.
Yeah, and
Right.
you know what's so fun about it is that, and I'm sure you've experienced this. How old is andPlay now?
We're almost 10 years too.
No way.
Yeah.
Who
We
knew?
started in
Wow,
2012.
congratulations.
So
That's so
yeah.
fun.
Wow.
Yeah, so okay, so I mean I know you guys individually and you know us individually, but and you know how you know different we're each our own person and each our own musician.
Yes.
But you put those two together to make that sound, right? So you're not asking the other person to be different, right? You're just asking them to be them. And so just expanding on that is a whole other, it is a whole thing, right? And just like learning about each other in that way. So for us, looking back, that is really interesting for me because we weren't a duo at the start. It's not like, oh, we were a duo and that's why we hooked up. Like it was like, you know, we had all this time where we were not a duo, and then it became this thing. So it's like we were getting to know each other, and I don't know, it's kept it spicy and good.
Because for those out there, they are not just like ensemble partners, but partners in life as well.
That's right.
So,
Oh.
so yeah, because that's really interesting. And if you're comfortable talking about that, like because we feel like we have such an intense relationship, kind of a working relationship together, but we do have that separation because we don't live together. We don't spend all the moments together. You know, we go and have our separate lives, and how, like you're saying that you kind of had to grow into this relationship from your other relationship. The string noise relationship.
No, it's just, it's a whole new thing, you know? So, but I think what I really was just getting at was like with any great sort of like, at least my, like people that I really like to listen to, like everybody has sort of their unique thing that they bring to the table, like their unique sound or their personalities, or you know, so you look at great quartets and you look at piano trios, or you know, like ensembles, larger ensembles even, you know. And when it's just narrowed down to two people, there's nothing to really hide except you're right in front of, you're just right, it's just the two of you guys, right? So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And then you add the personal relationship to that, and that's for another day.
Yeah, I think there's it's definitely something that I like what you were saying because it's not like blending together the way you would in a larger ensemble, maybe where you're trying to create a sound that
Yeah,
is like
exactly. Yeah.
all kind of like similar, but
Hmm.
it's like blending in a new way. Because,
Right.
right, like what you're saying, you can't erase either one of you. And so, kind of like muting that on either side would make it less interesting and less impactful. So, it's kind of like, what is this new blend?
Yeah, because you're finding that person that highlights those good things about like they complement each other in the way that you play, right? You're never like, oh, can you just like tone down your like hand? Yeah, like it's like too much, you know?
Yeah.
No, we never tell you to tone down.
Only more. You guys don't go down,
Yeah.
just up and up. Um, well, another thing that we were really interested in talking about is that we are kind of embarking on this composer performer exploration this year of people who are composer performers and who are writing for the instruments that they play for. And Maya's actually going to be writing a piece for us this year. It's the first time.
Awesome.
Hooray!
We know, like,
Yay!
Pauline, you've done a lot of composition, both for string noise, right, and other ensembles. Conrad, I'm not sure, do you compose as well?
Don't say
Yeah.
no. I found a piece by you that
Oh, you did. And also,
really.
when I get lost, I compose some.
Everyone's always composing a little bit on the fly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There's a little bit there.
But yeah, curious, Pauline, if you have thoughts about writing for the ensemble and how you've kind of thought about that new layer to the relationship.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about because I've been getting asked that more frequently lately. And um, I didn't originally write any or much for strings. A lot of my earlier works are for woodwinds and voice and cello, and so writing for string noise was kind of a new thing right around the time this Giga Concerto happened at Roulette. And we had this idea of playing sort of a through composed program so that every piece had some sort of an improv interlude that led into the next piece, into the next piece, into the next piece. And so that there was never a moment where, I mean, it was an experimental thing where um, we wanted to see what that felt like and what the experience was like for the listeners as well, just not having like a pause and then indication this is over and here's the composer and go on to the next piece kind of thing. Do you remember that, Conrad? So
Yeah.
that's sort of where when Greg came in and he was also improvising with us in the music. And so I sort of took that opportunity to um, orchestrate this piece that I had written, but not designated any instruments to, but it was something I had written down and decided that was going to be the first string noise piece. And it was called Sugar. And since then, it's been performed. Well, I played it with another violinist because Conrad was away, and I learned so much um, in that process because, and it'll be interesting to hear Maya's thoughts after you've written for andPlay in your process, because there's certain things that go without say. Like you don't have to tell Conrad, like, do it this way. Like, I just know that that's like, he's going to see this and he's going to do it. Or like I know that if I write if he sees this, like, because of the kind of repertoire we played, or, you know, just with our vault of experiences with this, you know, just similar experiences, that he'll know what that means, right? Because sometimes it's just what you've been exposed to and what you know, right? So I took a lot of things for granted. just certain things. And I realized how much more clarity and how much it's just never enough, really. Like you look at classical music and it's super like clear, like how, like, I don't know why, because maybe it's just like because of the traditional, like, whatever, like years and years of people playing the same music and recordings being generated and that just being passed down, that tradition. But with new music, when it's brand new, like every little thing, we're accustomed to being told how to do something. So if it's not indicated, you don't do it because you're not being asked to interpret something, really. You're being asked to play what's on the page. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
it sounds like maybe part of what you're saying, if I understand it, is that also like when you're writing for Conrad or for string noise, like you're already working within a performance practice of string noise.
exactly.
Right?
So
Like,
you can't expect that to be the same for everyone.
mm-hmm.
I guess is what I'm getting down to. So I learned so much in playing that piece that was written for string noise with another violinist, and it was such a fun process because I realized, oh, that's what that means to you, and that's the sound, and that's so cool. And so it really opened up a lot in terms of understanding how to notate and get the results. And so, yeah, I haven't written that much for string noise particularly. We have started an improvisation, like long duration improvisation group with another composer, improviser, and performer. So, and basically that involves just similar, so composer, improviser, performers to come and play. Like we'll start, and typically it goes about an hour. And within that, it's really interesting to be working in that environment because everyone is a composer, everyone's a performer, and everyone improvises. So there are structural things that happen in a compositional form, and you're communicating on a level that is not just about sounds or just about like you're really I don't know, it's a very cool experience. And so we're hoping to start that up again soon. Everyone's been sort of displaced this past year and a half, but yeah, so string noise sounds is sort of that. It's the evolution of string noise.
Ooh.
A new catchy title there.
Yeah.
Caught Conrad's attention.
Yeah. Oh, we've evolved. I didn't know we evolved.
I hope so.
And so I think like today we were also going to share a piece that a shorter piece that Maya had written. Maya, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we're going to share a piece that I wrote during the pandemic as a sound meditation I wrote it as a sound meditation for us, and we ended up posting it for our Patreon followers. And yeah, it really just it was like during early pandemic, these were like, it's basically based around like about 9 chords. And they were the chords that I was just like meditating on a lot during the early months. And so I wrote this duo for us, and yeah, we're going to share it. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I think there's something so unique, and it's what we've really found interesting about working with composer performers who play, it doesn't have to be violin or viola or even cello. And we have some new commissions in the spring, one from Lester St. Louis and one from
Oh,
Mario
awesome.
Roberts.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we're like, it is kind of that, like just like really deep knowledge of the instruments and of the like sonic language and of what can be done with it, that I think gets you like one level deeper into that interpretation than you might be
Sure.
starting out with otherwise. And so
like just a knowledge of performing too. So it's like just a way of like talking to performers. It feels like it feels like collaborative and open, like open space, which I've always enjoyed.
And I think, I mean, this is not a new thing. I mean, there's a comeback,
right.
Sure.
It was sort of expected. You play an instrument, you compose a piece, you play it together, it was like a thing. And then it became very strictly, I'm a conductor, I'm a violinist, I do not write music, I only play music that someone makes me play, so it's really great that.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I love hearing everyone's voice through like their through their compositions as well. And it's been pretty amazing, because I feel like in conservatory or something, they end up like separating you, and they're like, oh well, you play this,
Totally.
You'll work with the composer, but it's like it was not like encouraged by your professor or whatever to like do your own thing.
Right.
Yeah, but I think what you were saying about these string noise projects where everyone is like a composer, performer, and improviser, like that is just becoming so kind of like everyone's bringing so much to the floor these days that the lines are very blurred, and I think are creating really interesting musical projects.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lines are blurred also in genres too. So
yeah,
as you know.
Another piece that you wanted to share today was a Lucier duo, Alvin Lucier, and so that's kind of the different, more strict avant-garde contemporary world.
Yeah, he wrote this piece for us you're better at years than I am.
I can't even remember.
Okay, he wrote this piece for us in one of these past years, and it's well, we experimented with him a bit on it before we performed it first, and if you don't know it, it is a piece where we attach a thin piano wire to each of our bridges, and we have well, it depends, 20 or 30 feet between us, and we use clothespins to attach the piano wire to each of our bridges. And it also lays on top of the E string a little bit, the highest string. And when one of us plays our E string, we can hear it under our ear in our own instrument, but it also resonates in the other violin's instrument. So, and we form we spread out, and the wire is taut, and then we move in a circular motion very slowly, and take turns playing, and also play sometimes the same simultaneously.
So the physics of this is what's really interesting too, is because where the bridge is situated on the instrument, as you know, but people listening or watching may not realize, is very high tension. I forget what the actual like
pounds.
Yeah, but it's very, very, very tight. And even the slightest pressure could crack the instrument, or the bridge can snap or collapse. So the mere idea of wrapping a piano wire around that part of your instrument, and then having to have enough tension for it to stay stretched across 20, 30 feet in order for it to play the other instrument when the other player is not bowing, it's just already just like, what?
Real trust exercise between you and the other performer.
It is.
Exactly. and just a little yank and it's game over. So
it can be a real test
else?
for a relationship, maybe even more so than the closet. I don't know.
Yeah, the closet was. Anyway, what happens is that it starts to play the resonances of the room. And so there's the bowed violin, and then there's the two bowed violins, and then there's the one bowed and not bowed violin, and vice versa. And all those overtones collectively playing the sonic properties of the room, depending on what the room is like. You hear all sorts of things. It is really a fun piece.
Yeah, and you can lead the other person.
Yeah.
It's really harder than you think, because
Really
when you have an audience, you can be like, oh, she's getting too close to the audience. I gotta go this way. and then oops, not that way.
Also a test of intuition. Like, I think there's something that happens, like people have described it with us as this like twin sense of like, you just like know what the other person is like. You have to just have this deep understanding as if it is you, what the other person is going to do. And it's a very similar thing, I think, if you're connected by a wire. Like, what are you
doing? Yeah, I mean, it also is more obvious when the other person goes
that way.
Yeah. Throw it over. Well, it's a very amazing recording and an amazing piece.
He said that his inspiration really was watching two singers on stage of this really large stage. I think they might have been singing Wagner or something like that, but like
it was a Wagner
such
opera.
Intensity, but just being so like feeling this connectivity across the stage, even though they're like super far apart, and just. He just had that image. And
he said that he had seen the opera before, and the soprano and tenor were next to each other singing this aria, and he was like, oh, okay. And then this Robert Wilson staging of it, I think. No, whose was it? Anyway, it was done where they were separated, and he said it was like night and day, that he could do the clarity and the way the sounds interacted. He was, and it was a love song. It was a love song aria, so that's why he called it a love song.
And I think there's something interesting here. Like, we've talked today about how the sound of a duo, and how it is really this new composite that is coming out of the two people and their two kind of musical voices, but that also there's this idea of the experience of watching the duo, of listening to the duo. And you guys talked about that with like the concert where you wanted it to be a kind of through composed thing, and this kind of visual and auditory experience of this Lucier, that when it is two people, it is a very, like, the experience needs to be impactful. It's not like throwing a large ensemble on stage and everyone can just perform, that there is this real focus. And I think we talk about that a lot too. Like, we hate kind of having breaks, or like we always want to design these programs that are going to feel like an experiential unit.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
so that you're walking away not just having heard a list of pieces, but that you've, I don't know, done something.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and I think that the combination of the two, like just the duo, creates another, I think that's what we're talking about, but a new instrument. So andPlay is like an instrument. String noise is like an instrument. It's because it's a collective sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we think all the time. So it's always nice to hear it confirmed by other people. We're like, it's not just in our heads. Well, thank you both so much for talking with us.
Oh, thank you. This was fun.
Thank you for having us.
Time. But for one last question, how we mentioned we are partnering with this bookstore, and we just wanted to know, they're gonna be sharing a recommended book list with this event. And so if you have any books that you'd like to recommend for this list that you've read that have been really impactful, one's coming up.
Oh, that's my go back. Go. Wait.
Why isn't it not doing? I don't know what to do. Okay, well, it's called
What is it?
Madhouse at the End of the Earth by Julian Sankton. I don't know. Okay.
Oh, it's about a journey to Antarctica on a ship called Belgica that was from Belgium, and they got stuck in the ice. It's a big surprise there, and they were running out of food, and they were freezing, and a lot of them kind of went crazy, but they made it back, and after eating a lot of penguin steaks, apparently, which that doesn't taste good.
Are you giving the whole book away?
No. Oh, I don't know if they made it back alive or not, or if anyone went crazy, or what they ate at all.
Is this fiction or nonfiction? Because I feel like if it's nonfiction, you can't give that much away.
No.
No. Well, anyway,
right?
So,
it's already out there. It happened.
So, well, we're hoping. Well, anyway, I read it because we were planning on going to Antarctica.
Oh my gosh!
And so if we make it there, we won't get stuck in the ice, and we won't have to eat penguin steaks.
Yeah, it's a what not to do manual.
Yeah, basically, it's a what not to do manual.
So that's why we're recommending it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, doesn't it? I made it sound so great, right?
Anything that you all want to plug, like Instagram, new albums coming out, or where can we find you?
So it's just String Noise on IG, Twitter, and Facebook. So yeah, follow us. We have our first sort of in-person concert happening at the end of October. We'll be playing a new piece by George Lewis, and it will also feature other instruments. What is it called? Like symbiotic. What is the electronics? Sorry, I'm gonna get the exact wording of it so that I don't mess it up. Oh, recombinant works with live electronics. So it'll feature, and we're excited.
That should be a fun
It'll
concert.
be our first.
Well, thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, you both.